Hello, I'm Deborah Chieli, a nationally board certified nurse practitioner with specialty certification in lifestyle medicine.
And I'm Susie Spell, a nationally board certified nurse practitioner, also certified in lifestyle medicine.
The following interview was part of a series that informed our presentation at the 2023 Annual Conference of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, ACLM, titled Nurses in Action: How Nurses Operationalize Lifestyle Medicine in Modern Settings, and You Can Too.
In this series, nurses from diverse backgrounds and practice settings and their champions tell their personal and professional stories about discovering lifestyle medicine and how they're implementing it across a wide range of settings.
Nurses are the largest health profession in the United States and globally, and have been voted the most trusted profession here in the U.S. for over 20 years. Learning about and incorporating the pillars of lifestyle medicine fosters full scope of practice and the ability to answer the call to lead by the National Academy of Medicine with their report, Future of Nursing 2020 to 2030, Charting a Path to Achieve Health Equity.
We hope these stories of success will inspire conversation and drive creative solutions to better address inequities in healthcare. Continued growth of nursing expertise in lifestyle medicine will expedite our nation's ability to address the public health emergency of chronic lifestyle diseases we currently face.
The power of nurses to create innovative solutions when combined with the practice of lifestyle medicine allows nurses to express their full potential while simultaneously addressing the salient issues of health equity, the epidemic of chronic disease, and the provision of truly patient-centered whole person care.
When nurses are empowered to lead with an interdisciplinary and multi sector practice, they answer the call of the National Academy of Medicine to dissolve barriers to care and improve health for themselves, the nation, and every global citizen. Enjoy the interview. Today, we are speaking with a doctorally prepared nurse, Dr. Terri Gibson. Dr. Gibson is a nursing professor and director of the Center for Wellness Integration at Southwestern Adventist University. She's been in the field of nursing for over 30 years, and she's certified in ambulatory care. She received her BSN from Angelo State University, her MSN from the University of New Mexico, and her Doctor of Nursing Practice degree in Systems Leadership from Loma Linda University. She's also a diplomat of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine and received additional certification in faith leadership. Dr. Gibson has primarily practiced in the outpatient setting, and she's passionate about community health with a focus on lifestyle management for optimal wellness. In fact, she's managed 2 grant-funded, community-focused nonprofits that address childhood obesity, adult wellness, and diabetes reversal with an emphasis on education. And at Southwestern, she teaches nursing leadership and professional development, population health, and the nursing capstone course. She's a member of various professional organizations such as Sigma Theta Tau, which is the Honor Society of Nursing, the American Holistic Nursing Association, ANA, the NLN, and the American College of Nursing. She's won many awards and received many honors and accolades throughout her distinguished career, just one of which was the 2016 Helen Emery King Professional Leadership Award, which was voted by graduate faculty and awarded to the master's student who demonstrated distinction in nursing leadership. And on a more personal note, Dr. Gibson's married to a retired pastor, and they have a unique life experience that provides a lot of moving around, it looks like, and experience in different places with many communities. And I'm excited to hear that part about her experience. She loves spending time in nature and enjoying activities like camping and slalom skiing and disc golfing. And so really a nice blend of professional and personal experience that she is going to bring to us today. And so welcome, Dr. Gibson. I'm very grateful that you're here with us. We are very honored to have you in this conversation. So thank you.
Thank you so much. That's very nice. It is my pleasure. And life has been fun. It's been an awesome journey. So I look forward to what we can share today.
Good. Thank you so much. So I love starting with people's origin story. Like, how did you get started? How did you have an awareness of lifestyle medicine or preventative care? How did that start for you and culminate into what you're doing now?
To be honestly, I'm of a faith system that puts emphasis on wellness. And so I've always been interested. Once I finished my practical nurse training, I actually was able to go work at a lifestyle rehabilitation facility. And that was back in the 1980s. And it was really amazing to bring people in for this residency of 10 to 21 days. And people that couldn't walk would start walking, put them on this really refined, it's not a refined diet, but a diet that was whole food, plant-based with reduced fat, and they would get better. Diseases would improve or leave. And in fact, we had one person that would come and we were his pill for the year. He'd come, improve, lose weight, do really well, but then he'd go change. But many more people would come in and start on a lifestyle journey that improved their health. And then that's just continued as I married a gentleman, though he became a pastor. I've been doing community-based education to help people improve. This weekend it was fun. Just a quick little story. There's a lady that was in the lobby of the church, and I'm like, I think I remember her. And she was a lady that had come to some programming we offered when we were in Albuquerque. She looks trim and slim, and she smiles when you call her slim because she used to not be that way. And after having attended our program, she over time has lost the weight and maintained that. And that's really exciting when you see that happen. So as I've continued, it's just always been, especially as I went into community health and received grant funding, it's always exciting to see the changes that people could make and also how much people don't know. I think they really do know, but finding that motivation, making it practical, and showing them ways that they can do. It was very rewarding to be part of the Childhood BC programming I did in Albuquerque because you gave parents tools. One mom said, now my child doesn't have to be what I was. One of the people that volunteered their time said, my mom said we couldn't walk through the fresh produce aisle. We couldn't afford that. Yet my team, we would buy $100 worth of groceries that was whole food, plant-based. It took up a whole table. There was oodles of stuff there. And if we're comparing with going and buying fast food, no, it doesn't say. But when you go buy it in a grocery store and bring it home and prepare it, wonderful things happen and people feel better. And that's exciting. So I don't know if that helps.
Yes, that's beautiful. I love that. It's just a very succinct way to show at least a little bit of your experience that you've had with this kind of eating pattern and how you have made connections with people. I think that's really
Yes.
important. What was the initial program that you went to in the 80s? What was that?
It was called Total Health Foundation in Yakima, Washington, and it was in a mansion up in Natchez. And it had in fact, I met my husband. We have this little story we tell about me coming down the stairs and he coming in. But anyway, it had 16-room mansion that people would come and live there. Downstairs, we had a hydrotherapy center where we had the 12-head shower. We had the whirlpool bath. We did blood draws. We had doctors on staff. We had a dietitian on staff. As I actually volunteered there for a little bit, and then when they needed an LPN, they called me back, and I worked there for a year and a half. But we gave lectures, we did exercise, and we had outside of the mansion, up the road on either side, there was like the quarter mile, the half mile, the 2 mile. My husband actually had been there as a person, and he walked a 27-mile day one time. So it was that was what it was called. Total Health Foundation. We had our own cookbook. I still use some of those recipes. It's no longer functioning. It was really hard in those times at the small scale to manage the finances and stuff, but it was really wonderful and exciting. And we'd go out from there and do life at its best seminars in different locations and churches. And so we continue that in the other places that we've lived over time.
Thank you for that. That's a beautiful story. I would love to go there myself.
Yes, drive up the canyon, up, what is it, west of Yakima, up the Natchez, up towards
Oh
Natchez. See
gosh,
if
it
you can see
sounds
the old
beautiful.
Row mansion. It was among the cherry orchards. So
Oh my gosh, I bet it was beautiful.
yes, it was.
So I have a couple of questions for you based on that. One is I just want to make a comment that over and over again in these interviews that we've had with people, there's always the theme of getting into your community, to having
Yes.
a relationship with your community, to being able to run programs with your community, but even just to explore what's going on in the community, knowing your community statistics as a nurse or nurse practitioner or any health provider really, and then asking what do you need and how can I help. And that has just been a really nice way to show that nurses are always have their like finger on the pulse of that community part. So I think that's beautiful, and you're going to tell us more about that, I'm sure. But I do want to know, how did you discover the American College of Lifestyle Medicine? I'm always curious how people discover that, and what was your experience with that?
Okay. I do want to say, if you covered, I don't know who's aware of The Pedagogy of the Oppressed. I don't know how you say the name, by
Oh,
Ferrari. The Pedagogy of,
my daughter just told me about that. She had
okay.
to read that. Yes.
That was required reading in my master's in community health. And I share that with people because one thing I think we need to remember when we do community, it's not us leading the community, it's us facilitating. And until we have the people in the community on board with what we're doing, we're just doing what we perceive needs to happen. So I really like that piece that you said about involving our community. And that's what we've tried to do, is understand the stats, then go to that community and make that happen. Okay. And so then say again, your question was for
It
me.
was, how did you discover the American College of Lifestyle
Yes.
Medicine, or that this exists as a subspecialty?
So like I said, I've always been associated with health prevention kinds of things, we called it. Here at the university, when I first came, there had been a grant funded from Ardmore Institute of Health, and they had funded our community assessment. And then the president of the university came back to the nursing department and said, they're willing to do another grant. Does anybody want to do this? And me being the young person, and I was into research and had done quite a bit, I said, oh, okay. So I looked at the community and looked at other community assessments, and I couldn't help with the water in Keene. I couldn't help with the roads in Keene, but people did say they wanted to do work with after school care and also be healthier. So I did Ardmore funded I worked with the local school district and the agricultural to put in some gardens. And then we developed this program. It eventually became Reversing Diabetes. But so then the next year we came back and said, how about some more funding? And said, actually, what we're thinking is that we've got this new thing we're doing. We'd like you to become part of ACLM, go to the conference, become certified, and go from there. So that's when I first became associated. So it was at 2000. In 18, I know that I was given a little seed money to bring in a few educators to talk about what we're doing in education. Of course, that's jumping ahead, but it led to that as we were pursuing more funding with Ardmore Institute of Health. And so I become involved that way, and have always appreciated that and been to a couple conferences. It's been really exciting, and it was very educational. I really like how ACLM has, I don't know if condensed is the word, but very succinctly put, these are our pillars. Here's the information, and it's great resources, and brought it together. So it's been very helpful to have that as a conglomerate. I'm probably jumping ahead also, but Dr. Merlot's book, I presented at the Nurse Educator Conference this summer on lifestyle, and I was promoting that book because I think it's also a really great resource that I know that you have it in your background, but it has a great resource for us. It's not long-winded, but it has some very great information that anybody could take and pull and say, here's the evidence.
Yes, I love that. I received the book. It just came out recently, and so I've been moving my way through it. There's a lot in there, but it is such a great resource. And there's another one coming out also
And
very
it's
soon.
our resources as nurses. I did
Yes.
buy the Dr. Reddy book, and there's a couple other books that I got as I was getting into this and preparing for certification. But this is our book, written for nurses, written by nurses, and written with that health promotion. One of the stanchions of nursing is health promotion. So here it is in a really easy fashion. Because sometimes I think it's real easy to go to physical activity and nutrition, but we do have to think about the sleep, and we do have to think about the positive psychology and the not being lonely, things like that.
Yes. All of them are so important, right?
Yes.
Will you tell us what you're doing now?
Oh, wow. I've got several things. Never busy. And an update to I am currently teaching population health, which I've been doing. I am a master's in community health. I am teaching leadership probably for the last time. I don't know. I'm actually training a person to teach leadership. I am curriculum lead, and which means that we have our 10-year accreditation next month, which is part of, what we're doing. And we have received another grant. This is a sideways thing, but you asked. So we've received another grant to develop a master's in education in nursing. And so that is now, I'm transitioning kind of October 1, January 1 for sure, with putting most of my efforts towards developing a master's in education. with a Hispanic population focus. I'd like to put some leadership in there, but then I also really hope to have this holistic approach to wellness be part of that as well.
Yeah.
Aside from that, I look after my 10-month grandson once in a while. I mean, the youngest, I have others, and so anyway.
Oh, I love that too. My mom helped me when I had my children little, and my mother-in-law also. And I know I didn't say it then that I appreciated them so much, but I did later when I realized just how important their role was in my ability to live my life. Congrats
Yes.
on that one. It's fun for you, hopefully, on occasion.
It is fun. And then I like my academic schedule because I have the summers off that I can go travel north and be with the rest of the grandkids. So life is
Yes.
good.
And are you physically in Texas now? Where
Oh,
are you?
yes. I
Texas.
am.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in a little town in Keene. It's in the Dallas-Fort Worth, southwest of Dallas-Fort Worth. I've been here actually 8 years now. I can.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So, can you tell us a little bit about maybe some wins that we've had as nurses in lifestyle medicine and lifestyle nursing, community health, and maybe some challenges that we have faced and that we're facing now?
One of the things that I think about, and of course brought out my population health course, I noticed that in Massachusetts a couple of years ago, the governor mayor decided that public health really needed to be funded more. And so we actually made provision that they could hire 50 more nurses. And that doesn't happen enough because I remember a few years ago, one of my students called and said, I'm thinking about a job transition going into public health, but I don't want to go backwards. And I said, oh, that's really exciting. You really have to decide, are you up for that? But the autonomy that comes with being involved in public health. And so I think the win is, unfortunately, the pandemic prompted that. But we now realize that we have all this acute care, sick care, do we want to call it, response to people being sick. And yet there is so much more that we could do to promote people from getting sick, or at least push that back a little bit. So I think that's one of the wins. I do also like that now we've really, especially with ANA, Healthy Nurse, Healthy Nation, realized that care of ourselves is important. And I think it's a real switch for nurses, for us to say, if I'm not healthy, I can't truly take care of the people that are healthy, keep them healthy. And we also know that if I'm not investing in healthy habits, I'm not a very good role model, or I'm not promoting that in other people. I think there's that. I know, in full disclosure, it's been a little bit of a switch saying, once I reach a master's level, then I have that flexibility to move into a role that allows me to do things. And it's been a lot of talking to say, even at the baccalaureate level, which is where my passion is, students are really busy just doing I'm trying to get them out of the task oriented, but holistic approach to care. And in those moments when they can, I don't know if it's a scripting, talking with people and trying to, the stages of change, for instance, maybe they're pre-contemplating, maybe they're contemplating, maybe they're in action, and just supporting that process, but helping people understand that even at the bachelor's level, where I don't have script authority, I'm not out on my own doing this, I don't have that ability within that, but I can still experience it myself. That by exercising or taking care of my spiritual self or my relationships or good nutrition can improve how I perform and keep me going. So I think it's challenging to do that. And I think especially if we have people around us, just like physicians having a hard time with a nurse being called a doctor, because I've earned a doctorate degree. No, I don't have the MD. I'm still a doctorate I was a really hard doctorate. I earned this, right? And as I've done this, and people give me more credibility, and not to my glory, but at least they listen and can do. And I think we just have to push back, because even though people are crowding, here's an example, I'll interrupt myself. When I was in New Mexico, the ultrasound people came forward and said, I'm sorry, only an ultrasound tech can use ultrasound machines. And I didn't really fully understand at the time, but my hospital, we got all real busy, and they went to Santa Fe and we found the evidence, and we made it. Nurses can perform ultrasound, and we could say, yes, we have the evidence, we can do this. And if we had not been able to do that, bladder scans, the things that we as nurses do routinely that need to be we could not stand around making a full bladder, almost bursting bladder patient wait until a rare ultrasound person could come do that. I think if people are pushing back in other areas of practice that we have had almost not a monopoly on, but we're the ones that have been health promotion for a long time. It is our right. It is, we are almost obligated to address the whole person. That's nutrition, that's activity, that's sleep, that's positive emotions, that's relationships. So I think that's another challenge that we do find our niche, so to say, that we are given license is the word to practice what we know.
Mm.
And it is, we are limited in as an ADN and BS role, but we can still experience it ourselves. And then where we have opportunity, we can expand our education and hopefully move into those spaces. One more thing, as a DNP, that was a new degree, although it was a few years old by the time I went through. But they were even saying then that we almost had this opportunity to create our own roles. And I think to a certain degree, especially with the pandemic and things, of course, if you're a person of faith and you believe that God can lead in those things, that where is my spot with what I know? And like the talents in the Bible, what has God given me to do? How can I optimize using them?
I love
Did that
that.
answer
It's
that?
beautiful. Yes, it's beautiful. As we've been talking with people, we've been asking the question, especially about baccalaureate level nurses, so BSN nurses. And you said you have a passion for that. And we are really trying to hone in and figure out, where do BSN nurses have a place in lifestyle medicine, and bringing this to people. And I think we knew and rediscovered that nurses, one of our primary tasks or things that we do in nursing is education. So
Yes.
being able to provide that education, even though a field of dietetics exists, right? Nurses
Yes.
are 4 million plus in number, physicians are only 1 million, and registered dietitians are somewhere in the neighborhood of, last I looked, 112,000. So there are not many of them to go around, and there are so many nurses. And can you speak specifically, other than just being able to walk the talk when it comes to lifestyle medicine or lifestyle nursing, how else can nurses do this? One thing we've heard is the education piece. One thing is collaborating with maybe your manager on a busy unit, maybe putting a hand out in the discharge paperwork, any number of things that nurses we've spoken to have come up with ideas. What could you say to that as well?
I do the idea of those junior clubs, those potlucks on the unit, different things that provide that living it. I also think that sometimes we don't, of course, I'm a community person, so I don't think we give credit for the groups of people that we interact with. When I was in New Mexico, I became part of the Healthy Weight Council, which kind of shifted to policy. But whether it's Rotary, whether it's some group like that, whether it's our faith community, we have a unique education and we can step in and hold activities or side with other people, the homeless population. There's a lot of areas, and so now we're off into kind of other things, but they still need healthy things happening as well. So I think investing time in community activities, building that trust relationship, trust capital, I call it, and maybe it's a block party that you do something with the people. Start with the people. And one thing I try to do in population health, I don't think students realize that STDs are high, that the cardiovascular disease is so preventable, that diabetes is, and yet there's small things that people can do that have huge returns. I think if we have space and the time that we're off to invest in our communities in that way, to partner, look for groups that are willing to do something. You can go to HEB or probably any grocery store and receive $25 or $50 Walmart if you need places that can help fund some of the things you're doing. I know that in Bernalillo County, we received a $5,000 grant to serve our community. And so we bought some equipment and we had our team together, and that's what we went out and implemented. I know my students, well, community health, let me just get through this and be done. But there's such a vast array of opportunity in that space that we don't tap into. And then it sounds like you've already addressed the whole acute care kinds of things, but there are windows of opportunities, whether it's posters, newsletters, journal clubs, things like that.
And I remember my own community health nursing experience as an undergraduate. And I remember thinking, this should just be in every class, not just community class. It should be in all of them. And maybe it was a little bit, but I just felt it was so important.
I don't think we give credence enough to the determinants of health, which really do segue in. Now, do I have resources to go invest? But still, if we're looking at that holistic approach, then we can reach those pieces where we're able to do. I interrupted. Go ahead.
Yes, no, that's great. Thank you. And that could bring us to the Future of Nursing Report 2020-2030. And what I would like to do is that the National Academies of Medicine have had these reports. It was the IOM to begin with, now the National Academies, putting out the Future of Nursing, and now the Future of Nursing 2020-2030, charting a path to achieve health equity. And it really is almost an urgent call to action to nurses. And I would like to ask you your thoughts on how we, as lifestyle medicine educated nurses, can really lend our unique insight and education and experience and passion for this effort. And I want to read to you just one quote from the Future of Nursing report. Nurses are trusted bridge builders who champion good health for all. The Future of Nursing 2020-2030 report explores how we can and must unleash the power of the nurse to achieve health equity, and how the systems nurses function within must do more to educate, pay, employ, and enable nurses to support them so they can do more. Can I get your feedback on hearing that?
That's a big one, because if you're really going to go for the big guns, it's policy. And unfortunately, most nurses, I do a lot. I remember going through my undergrad kinds of things and leave policy alone. That's politics is negative, whatever, bad connotations. But I think we have to get over that. And just as my example earlier of ultrasound use for nurses, we have to say, yes, we can. And I think we also have to recognize, I don't know how many are still the physician is God, or we have to subservient. I'm always, no, you have your license. You are deciding if that order fits for that patient. You have that ability. So I think we have to decide that we're not afraid of politics and look for the upstream approaches to how we address this. And I don't know what that is for each person. I don't know. I'm always in admiration of the moms with their children in school that spend time in the classroom. So there's opportunities. Are they sitting on the school board? Are they helping to make decisions about what's in and available to students in the cafeteria or in the machines that are in the hallways? What about worksite wellness? What's around that? And do we have policies? I mean, we've made huge inroads in terms of labeling and calories posted and things like that with restaurants. Look at the labeling on smoking and the influence that has had. One thing that I really emphasize in population, it's not the individual. Now, sure, we're building relationships. And whenever I'm doing a program with people coming, it's very resource intensive. And as much as I'm talking to a group, it's still those individual connections that I'm reaching. And those are those few people that make really life-changing decisions that keep up with it. So not be afraid of policy, find out where they can be. But again, we have to build trust. So if we're going to do that, we have to be invested. We have to be, the ANA suggests that we be on boards and things like that. I sit on the Texas Health Community Impact Council, and I keep being willing to step off and let somebody else. But what I contribute as a nurse that knows about the determinants of health, and they want to keep hearing from me. And I think not shying away from those opportunities. Of course, who of us has time, but those editorial reviews, those different ways that we can publish. We don't have to always be in the peer-reviewed journal that only nurses are reading. We could be sending things to the newspaper or blogging or other ways that fit our styles. One thing is not give up. Don't let things overwhelm you. Invest in your community, build trust, and then see where be open to areas that you can say and do something. I feel bad I'm not more involved necessarily in what I was doing, meetings and things, but I do appreciate you guys are busy meeting and you have stuff going on and you're developing documents that can help people across the board. And so keep doing that, keep expanding, being part. There's nothing quite like going to a conference and seeing everything that's going on. But we have been taught about evidence-based practice. We can still pull these things down. I still think the stages of change are really great models to think about. We need to recognize there are always people pre-contemplating So there are always things that we can throw up to, I guess I've heard the universe or wherever, social media posters that are helping people think about that. And then we're always thinking about the ones that are ready to contemplate what's available for them. Is it going to be a food bank? Is it going to be an exercise workout group? Is it going to be a Bible study? I don't know. And then the people that are actually in action, what are we doing? One thing I like to follow up to my reversing diabetes is I did support groups once a month. And people would come, and I kept bringing in people. My students would be helping and seeing what we're doing, that now we're supporting people, asking them what they would like to know going forward. So I've thrown a whole bunch of stuff in the pot. Does that,
Yeah, right.
does that offer anything practical?
No, it's good. It's almost like a connection of engaging with community, but also being precise in the way that we as nurses can tap into our own personal, unique likes and talents and gifts, and how we can share that with everybody else. And it's not a cookie cutter approach, right?
It is not.
So, and that's how we connect.
That's right. I do really think, especially at the baccalaureate level, for those that have gone on to get their coaching certification, I think I have 2 credits of theory that I can teach for population. That's all I get. All I'm doing is trying to cover all these topics and make them aware. I do spend 1 day with motivational interviewing, and that's the same day I do chronic disease. But to go get that, if you feel you want to do something, if you go get that license, that coaching certification gives you license, is recognized, and you can even do either. I know of one nurse that was working in a hospital and felt really tied down in terms of her diabetes stuff, but she went on and did the coaching, and now she's pairing this, and she was able to find another diabetes education, but she's in a facility that's allowing her to use that coaching, some of that individual stuff that she's developed in her coaching, to do that. And I think being able to push forward in that. I think of, you mentioned the PCRM, and the lady that I worked with her in New Mexico, I subcontracted with them to go to the native community and adapt the corn, the squash, and that diet to fit the whole food plant-based diet. It was really fun to work that and help that community use their culture to promote whole food plant-based kinds of eating. So lots of opportunities when we have our eyes open to it. Then sometimes that becomes available when we equip ourselves a little further. Then that also gives us more credibility as well.
Yes,
and sometimes you can even talk to people. There's also funding out there. So sometimes it takes a little bit, but those that are grant funded or have received grants, once you are successful in a grant, then that tends to promote future success. And that's a really great thing as well. So I'm looking for them in different areas.
Yes. Yes, I love that. And I love the 3 sisters. I read a book called Braiding Sweetgrass. I don't know if you've ever read it, but it tells a beautiful story of the 3 sisters and how that is used in Indigenous culture. And so, yes, being very culturally aware, and we are trained to do that. And
that partnership, when we did that, she actually brought in a kind of a famous chef person that was willing to do that. And so we have big names that we don't have to settle for whatever down here. We can really partner with other people and not be afraid all they can do is tell you. So don't be afraid to step out and ask those questions and see who's willing to step up with you. Man, nobody's done it before. That's fine. Let's go try it. And if it doesn't work, then we'll try something different. At least we made a splash.
Right. It's all part of the nursing process, right? The nursing process.
That's right.
I do want to ask you a little bit about nursing education.
Okay.
What do you think? I know you're well ingrained in the community promotion of health and that kind of thing. What do you think yourself, even, and other educators can do to promote lifestyle nursing or to bring it into programs? I feel like we're right at the leading edge of that. There are a few courses around. There's a couple of programs now. What are your thoughts?
The way we've done it is to put it in small portions in various courses. We have a gerontology course. Not every program does. In our gerontology course, we look at healthy aging. And so specifically, we ask the students, they do a poster on healthy. They don't call it healthy lifestyle per se. It's another name we have for it. But they're now instituting for the older adult, how can we use these principles in addressing that. So there's one spot. In my leadership class, I've now moved to, 2 or 3 sessions before I get into the textbook. So I do one session on values and what are your own values. And I think that's the precursor to getting to life story, because if I don't value health, if I don't value family time, then why am I going to do it? So, and I coach that with nursing values. So I'm still tracking with what we're trying to do, those whole altruistic, social justice, things like that. And then the next week I do lifestyle management, and that's where they do the ANA Healthy Nurse, Healthy Nation assessment. There's a really short CMET morning wakefulness kind of thing that they do. And then I also have them do a 24-hour log so that they're actually tracking how much time are they sleeping, how much time are they studying, how much this type of thing. So they've done these assessments, and then I'm asking them to think about what are there, and I asked them to do a concept map that, one, they list their values, two, they list their personal wellness maintenance. What are they going to do? That they look at their professional identity and who they are, and then what they're going to do about lifelong learning. And so that's the way that, amidst the other things I need to be talking about, I've tried to insert that. And then now I challenge them, and I got this from, oh, her name just escaped me, but I asked the students to write SMART goals in 4 areas, 2 in their personal wellness and 2 in their professional development. And then I want them to implement 1 SMART goal for this semester. And it's amazing. And then privately, when we do their poster, I want them to tell me how it was implementing that. And those students that have implemented something are amazed at how much difference it made. There's others that didn't, but now they will. So at least I've challenged them on a small scale to do that. Inside of my population health course, I've been able to, I talk about chronic disease. What better time to talk about motivational interviewing and some of these things. And also when I'm always bringing up statistics to try to determine the why, here's the why. Look at all this infection, look at all this chronic disease, and what are the ways. When you're doing pathophysiology, and there's a bunch of courses that you can be inserting segments of what we're talking about. If you're in a big program and you have the license to offer some other things that students will take, then that's even better. I will say that as part of our quality enhancement plan as a university, we have a wellness for life. All of our students are required to take a 2-credit wellness for life, which gives them all of that information in their first couple of years of schooling. And then we can build on that going forward. So we all require nutrition. So why can we not adapt nutrition to be inclusive of this whole fiber and some of the other pieces that are so key to disease reversal? Does that, and
Right.
so I think we just take small pieces that we can and insert them where possible so that we're not flooding. I don't have the luxury of bringing in a whole class for that. We're already tight. Our students are tired. They're like, just get me through. I just need the boards. And there's nothing on the boards that are saying this. But on the other hand, it's also about, and I couch it in the whole idea of burnout. If you take care of yourself, then you're less likely to experience the burnout because you recognize. And so honestly, some of the burnout, if we're not taking breaks, if we're not getting lunches, and I don't work the units, and so I try to stay up on what that culture is, but we have an awareness of who we are and what we need to do, then we can make a difference. If we're going to work all day and then go party and then have to spend 2 days recovering from that, we're not helping ourselves to stay up and refreshed. On the other hand, I tell students, if I spend a half an hour walking, I can sleep a half hour less. To me, I've checked that out and that works. So I think there's different, it's how what we're saying and what we're experiencing, and help encouraging them to try it out.
Yes. I just love watching you. Like, you get all, I can see the passion. I'm like, you're so heart-centered, right? You're like, you're in it to win it.
I have too many passions is what I say. But anyway.
Deborah and I know about that.
Okay, good.
I do want to just touch on something that we've heard a couple of times that I think is so important. And I don't remember, or I didn't have the same kind of thing, which was having the students actually do the things that we might ask patients to do later, like keeping a log or making SMART goals around certain topics. I think the experiential part of that is so incredibly important.
Absolutely.
And I just love that you weave that in. And we've heard that a couple of times. And I thought, gosh, that's genius.
Say this is, you have to assess, right? The nursing process, assess. If you don't, and I'm not here to judge. I tell the students, I'm not here to judge you and say you're not doing. I don't want to raise your guilt quotient, but I do want you to think about where you're at. I want you to look at your values and also look at your success. If what you're doing isn't working, then maybe some changes need to happen. So until we've assessed, you just don't know.
So I know that your time is precious, and I do have a hard stop myself at 11, but I wanted to know, Deborah, I know you've been watching and listening also. What would you like to bring into the conversation that maybe I missed or skipped over, or you thought, oh gosh, we need to ask this?
Um, it was an amazing and wide-reaching and deep conversation. And I think what I'd love to ask then, Dr. Gibson, is for the bachelor's prepared nurses and nursing students becoming nurses going out there, what would you tell them in terms of how they should imagine and inform what informs their practice, their scope of practice? What do they look to in terms of that, and what their full scope of practice looks like?
That's a loaded question, but I guess I would want to say, you have gone through all this education. You have a reason to stand up and be who you are. You have a reason to advocate for health promotion and disease prevention. And so taking all that you're doing, and number one, if you kill the horse, then there's nobody giving the message to the patients. Don't be afraid to challenge respectfully what's taking place. And don't be afraid to recognize that you have value and you need to be healthy yourself in order to deliver the message and provide the care. And so again, that's not yourself over other people, but it is too many of us think that, oh, that's me and I don't want to be selfish and I'll be humble about it. And no, you got to come up with both. But you have earned this degree. You have gone, you've studied, and then never give up what you've learned. Always be looking for more information. And I always should cut myself off because my mailbox is like way too full, but I subscribe to Medscape. And I unfortunately I subscribe to Becker's as well. And so I keep getting these newsletters that are, and every once in a while, when I take time, I scan, oh, look at, there's the evidence. There's the evidence. I continue my membership with ACLM, and occasionally I check in with those emails and go, oh, look, and I have this little file of healthy stuff. And so it keeps updating, and they keep coming up with more evidence, and those kinds of things excite me. The other thing is, when you invest in other people and they make a difference. I tell the story of a lady that for a while she kept showing up in our department. Are you going to do another program? And she's the lady that her doctor said, lifestyle stuff, forget it. It'll never happen. You have diabetes. You will always have diabetes. You're 200 plus pounds. So she's lost 120 pounds. She's offered diabetes medicine. Her A1C is now 5, whatever. She wants other people to have that opportunity. And those kind of things can keep you going because it affirms that what you went into nursing for works. It is there. It is available. And I know some people are really big on the fast pace, whatever, but for me, I've never valued, I never wanted to be ICU, the different things that people involved in. I've always wanted to be on the other side. And my stint in the hospital and seeing all the blood sugars I was doing, all the overweight, all the disease that to a large degree is preventable, that's where I wanted to niche myself. And so if you're an ICU person, go be a great ICU person, and then think about, you keep your health up and think about maybe little spots that might help them not wind up back there. If you're not, then find where you enjoy and try and merge those. Stick to your values and embrace what's available to you to keep growing and feel fulfilled in what you have before you.
Yes, thank you so much. You're really speaking to what is our scope of practice. What are our ways of assessing, of seeing, of diagnosing as nurses,
Absolutely.
as bachelor's prepared nurses are able to do. And then the knowledge base that's there, that's both a way of seeing and a way of being, the science and the art of nursing, and how that is really unique to nursing, that nurses bring all of that science, and you get all the Medscape and continue reading all of that. And there's the science in that and ACLM. And then in addition, that whole person paradigm and evaluating that. And I just always loved these founding documents that really
Exactly.
speak to that. And I just want to share that I think we're both so excited to know that you're going to be creating a new educational program really for nurses, that you're going to be on the cutting edge there again,
Oh, thank
building
you.
that now with this new adventure. And
Yes.
we'll be
Yes.
staying tuned for that. But thank you so much for all of this.
Thank you for this opportunity. It's been a pleasure to share. So,
And I would like to share one thing of my own personal experience, which is when I graduated with my BSN, I went into a very high level pediatric intensive care unit, and it was intense. And I worked there for 6 years. And I can say that my health was not great. And wouldn't it have been a nice thing if someone, maybe another nurse, shared with our staff about lifestyle medicine and how we could better care for ourselves as ICU nurses using these
yes.
principles? Because I did
Yes.
not have that information, not really. And I
Right.
certainly wasn't living it. Always had a heart for the community health nursing, but I did choose to do the ICU route and
That's
I loved
awesome.
it. But at the same time, my health, and I watched the health of nurses. I was working a night shift, and my friend said, "Hey, look at my legs." And she had terrible pitting edema. And over, we're just not taking care of ourselves. And that's another call to action by some of these reports that are coming out, these landmark
Exactly.
reports.
What about staffing? What about making
Right,
sure you get your breaks and your lunch?
right.
And what about what do they call them? Restore rooms or something that you can go and put those on a unit, or get somebody to fund a chair that you can
Yes,
go in and nice, quiet aromas and things like that can while you're
right.
doing that. Absolutely. But
I
I
think
hear
that would
too
be
much
awesome.
about people that, and I even know when I was working, if you smoked, then you took your break, but you weren't missing your break for anything. Those of us that didn't smoke, we tended not even to get those 15-minute breaks. And then some units were ingenuitive and they put their two breaks together. So they had an hour lunch. Not sure how they worked that out. In some places, how would we ever do that? But still, if we learned helplessness, I don't know how many are aware of that. I've actually written about that in the journal article I published, that if we think that we can't do anything about it, but if we decide that yes, we can do something, then we can set about making change. And that's, if anything, we're not helpless. It may feel like it's hopeless, but let's
Mm.
take what we know, make those connections and networks, and we can make things happen and things will be different.
And I think nurses just come with tenacity. And for
They
me,
do.
I just thought, I don't like when someone tells me no. So I just have to keep looking or keep pushing, or not in the
Yes.
tactful way, like you were talking about. I know we're getting close to the end of our conversation, but is there anything else that we did not talk about, we didn't ask you, that you feel is an important message for any nurse or other lifestyle medicine or just healthcare leader listening to this conversation needs to know?
I guess I would say don't be hard on yourself. Watch those internal voices and recognize that the world is really before you. You're only limited by the limits you place on yourself. So if you have an interest in something, that little extra energy you have, look at pursuing it and see where it leads, because you have value. We need you in all areas of healthcare. And please go forward, be strong, and enjoy.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful.
I was just going to say one other thing, if I might here, and I know we need to go, is that I think one of the key messages that you've really emphasized throughout this is that self-care. And it's woven throughout your conversation and throughout your courses and throughout your messaging to nurses. And I think I just want to underscore something that I may have missed, and I know that you've touched on here together, is that when we take care of ourselves, we feel stronger and we show up as our best. And we want that. We know that for our patients, the studies show that doctors who exercise prescribe exercise. But when we do that, we are also at our positive most best. And we're talking about collaborating. We know that there are so many colleagues out there that want us to be on the team. We just need to help them, show them what we can do and how we can be there to make everybody's world better for the patient and also for the team itself, for the support in that team. So it's such a positive message coming out of this conversation too, about opportunities and doors that open and what we can do for ourselves, and then how that has ripple effects.
For sure. Absolutely.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Gibson. It was very nice to meet you and to
Oh, my
chat with you.
pleasure. Thank you, ladies. It was
We
good.
could talk to you all day.
For sure.